My friends, I greet you not just with the intellect, but with the vibration of recognition. Because some of you in this room have lived with a burden you could not name, a burden that has often made you question your sanity, your strength, even your right to exist as you are. You were told you are too sensitive. You were told you must develop a thicker skin. You were told that you must stop feeling so much. But I tell you now, what you carry is not sensitivity in the ordinary sense. No, what you carry is permeability. Your skin is not too thin. It is open. Your boundaries are not weak. They are wide. Your nervous system is not defective. It is tuned to the frequencies others have learned to forget. You are not merely sensitive. You are wide open to energies. They cannot feel. You are, in fact, in intimate dialogue with the unconscious of the world. This openness, this radical receptivity is not a flaw. It is an ancient function of the soul, one which our modern culture has abandoned, ridiculed, and psychologized into illness. But in the temples of old, you would have been called an oracle, a vessel, an intermediary between worlds, and you would have been trained, not shamed. So let us begin by entering the realm that lies beneath words. Let you descend together into the deep waters of the psyche, into the currents where symbol and energy mingle. For you see, when you feel too much, you are not merely emoting, you are responding to fields, energetic fields, which others have blocked from their awareness, but which you, because of your structure, cannot help but register. This is not imagination. This is not fantasy. It is archetypal truth. And it must be understood not with the intellect alone, but with the totality of your being. Now let me speak plainly. To live wide open in this world is to live exposed. You are exposed not only to the thoughts and feelings of others, but to their shadows, their repressed grief, rage, fear, envy, shame. It moves through the collective like a fog. And you breathe it in, not because you wish to, but because you are built to feel what others refuse to feel. You are, in this sense, a living filter for the unconscious of humanity. Some of you will nod quietly, because you have lived entire days carrying sorrow that was not yours. You have walked into a room and suddenly felt dizzy, nauseous, or overcome with rage without any obvious cause. And then, later, you discover that someone in that room had just lost someone, or had just erupted in private anger, or had just betrayed someone with a smile on their face. You picked it up. You always pick it up, and you don't know how. You think you are broken. You are not. You are responding not to the event, but to the energy beneath the event, the energetic blueprint, if you will, that lives in the ether and not in the facts. You are resonating with invisible truths, and that is not madness, it is mysticism. But mysticism, when left untrained, becomes suffering, and that is why I speak to you now. Let us explore this mystery more deeply. Every human being carries within them what I have called the self, the totality of the psyche. Conscious and unconscious, known and unknown. Most people live with a very small circle of this self, visible to them like a candle in a cathedral. But you, the open ones, you live with torchlight and no walls. Your cathedral has no ceiling. The winds of the collective blow through you, and you shiver with feelings you cannot explain. This is not merely psychological, it is archetypal, it is the structure of your psyche, and unless you come to know this architecture, it will devour you. You were never meant to feel everything without form, without container, without ritual, without guidance. That is the tragedy of our age. Those who were born to hold light and shadow on behalf of the collective have been left without a map, without a mentor, without a temple. And so they wander through the marketplace of modernity, absorbing energy like a sponge absorbs blood without knowing how to cleanse, how to transmute, how to return to themselves. This is what we must now restore. Let us look at a dream. In one dream, a woman walks barefoot across a wasteland. All around her are abandoned cities, broken statues, and smoke. She carries a bowl in her hands filled with water, but the water spills with every step. She keeps walking. She cannot stop, and she weeps, not knowing why. This dream, my friends, is a symbol of what it means to live open in a closed world. The bowl is her soul, the water her essence. The wasteland is our modern psyche, fragmented, dry, devoid of spirit. And she unknowingly is trying to bring life to a dead land. But there is no one to receive her offering, no temple to guide her pouring. So she spills and loses herself in the giving. This is how many of you live. You give your light to those who cannot hold it. You walk into rooms and unconsciously try to cleanse them. You listen and absorb and feel on behalf of others. But there is no return, no cycle, no reciprocity. And so you begin to leak rather than shine. You begin to ache rather than burn. And then you are told you are too much. Yes, you are too much. Too much for a world that has grown too little. Too much for a culture that cannot hold its own pain. Too much for a family that does not know how to weep. You are too much because they have built themselves too small. But I say again, this is not your flaw. This is your function. The question is not whether you are broken. The question is whether you are trained, whether you are anchored, whether your light has been given a form. There is a reason the ancients had rites of passage. There is a reason the mystics withdrew to the desert, the cave, the forest. Not to escape the world, but to learn how to survive the energies of the world without dissolving into them. To feel everything, yes, but not to become everything. To carry the water, but not to spill. You must now learn this ancient art. We must begin with the shadow, not the shadow of others, but your own, because you see, when you live wide open, you do not only absorb the light, you absorb what is hidden. And if you have not met your own darkness, your own rage, your own envy, your own grief, it will blend with what you pick up from others. And you will not be able to distinguish what is yours and what is not. This is the first step in initiation, to sort the self from the storm. How? Not through withdrawal alone, but through encounter, through symbolic inner work, through dream analysis, through image, through reflection, through sacred solitude. You must go inward, not to escape, but to discern. Because unless you know the contours of your own shadow, you will be at the mercy of projection. Let me explain. When you are untrained and someone near you is filled with unspoken aggression, you may feel a wave of anger rise in you. But if you have not made peace with your own capacity for aggression, if you have exiled it, you will mistake that feeling as entirely foreign, or worse, entirely yours. You may rage without cause, or suppress without reason, or collapse without knowing why. But once you have looked into your own inner abyss and seen the wolf that lives there, you will begin to distinguish, this anger is not mine. It has entered me, but it does not belong to me. This is the beginning of sovereignty. And sovereignty is the only true protection for a soul that is wide open, not armor, not disconnection, not numbness, but sovereign sensitivity, sacred discernment, the power to feel without drowning, the ability to open and close the gate with intention. You were born without a gate. That is the truth. But you can build one, and it is not made of stone. It is made of self-awareness. We shall pause here, not because the work is done, but because we are nearing the edge of what can be taken in without rest. In the next breath, we shall journey deeper into archetype, into possession, into spiritual hygiene for the mystically open soul. But for now, feel this. You are not alone. You are not mad. You are not weak. You are open. And that, in a world of the closed, is a radical act of soul. Let us return now to where we left off. The soul wide open, caught in the storm of energies, sensations, projections, and unseen tides. And let us ask, not from the surface, but from the depths, what truly moves through a being so open. To answer this, we must speak of possession, not the kind you see in tales of demons or fiction, but the psychic kind, the kind that occurs when an archetype or a fragment of the collective unconscious takes hold of the ego and floods it. You see, when your boundaries are thin, when your soul lives exposed, it becomes an easy entry point for forces greater than your personal will. These forces are impersonal, ancient, and autonomous. They belong to the archetypal realm, and they do not ask for permission. Let me offer an example. A woman enters a room and suddenly feels despair. Her chest tightens. Tears come. There is no reason for them, but she has no tools of discernment, no symbols to map what is happening. And so she assumes, this must be me. The despair grows. She retreats from others, isolates herself, believes herself broken. But what she does not see is this, that someone in that room had just buried a child and had spoken no word of it, that the grief moved silently, like smoke through air, and she, being wide open, inhaled it. But this is not simply about emotion, it is about archetypal occupation. For what enters her is not merely sadness, it is mother grief, the ancient archetype that arises whenever a soul loses a part of itself. She is not just empathizing, she is inhabited momentarily by a force greater than the personal, a collective wound seeking to be felt. Now imagine this happens again and again, day after day. Without the architecture of ritual, symbol, or inner authority, the self becomes flooded. Identity weakens. The ego, which should be the container of experience, becomes the vessel of everything that passes. And in that flood, the individual forgets who they are. They begin to identify not just with their pain, but with every energy they have absorbed. And so they become anxious without reason. They grow weary without effort. They fall into despair without context. And the world tells them, you're too emotional, too unstable. No, they are simply possessed by energies that were never named. Here, we must name them. In Jungian language, we call these forces complexes when they are personal, and archetypes when they are transpersonal. But for the one who feels too much, the line between personal and transpersonal blurs. The self becomes the stage for the dramas of the world soul. This is why you must learn to recognize who is speaking through you, what is moving through you, what is whispering behind your thoughts, tugging at your moods, pulling your body into collapse or flight or overwhelm, because you cannot heal what you cannot name. Let us go deeper now into the dream realm, where the psyche speaks its truest language image. A man dreams he is standing at the edge of a vast field. In the sky above him, black birds thrill. On the ground, a river of blood flows through the grass. He holds a lantern, but it flickers. He does not know which way to walk. This is a dream of the wide open soul at the threshold of initiation. The field is the unconscious. The blood is the collective trauma that flows beneath our lives, unnoticed but present. The birds are omens, messengers of shadow truths, and the lantern, that is the ego, that is you, flickering, yet holding light. Such a dream is not a personal nightmare. It is a summons, an invitation to begin the work of symbolic mastery, because in a world where energies flood us, symbols become the only raft. What is a symbol? A symbol is not a sign. It is not merely a message. It is an experience of the invisible made visible. It is how the unconscious communicates with the conscious mind. And for one who is open to energies, it is the only way to give form to the formless. If you feel overwhelmed, it is often because you are swimming in archetypal material without symbol, without story, without myth. You are being asked to carry the gods, but no one has given you a name for them. So you must begin to build your symbolic vocabulary, not from books alone, but from your own dreams, your own inner images, your own visionary language. Begin to track what colors come to you in states of sorrow. What animals appear when you are lost? What inner figures rise when you are afraid? Because these symbols will become your anchors. If your soul is a sea, symbols are the stars by which you navigate. And once you have a symbol, you are no longer lost. You are in dialogue. Let us pause here for a moment to breathe into this. You are not here to block what you feel. You are here to translate it, to give it form, to give it meaning, to give it a place in the sacred map of the psyche. Now, allow me to speak of protection, not as shielding, but as structure. In the old initiatory traditions, the first step was not to open the self further, but to fortify the vessel. This did not mean closing down. It meant strengthening the ego so it could hold the charge of what was coming. You must do the same. And by ego, I do not mean pride. I do not mean persona. I mean the functional center of the psyche, the one who stands at the threshold and says yes or no, the one who builds ritual, the one who maintains identity in the face of storms. Your ego must be trained, not harassed, for when the ego is too weak, the self becomes overwhelmed. But when it is too strong, it cuts off the flow of soul. The mystic path is a razor's edge between openness and containment, between surrender and sovereignty. You must learn the art of both. One without the other leads to chaos or rigidity. Let me offer another example. A sensitive child grows up in a home filled with unspoken tension. The father is quiet, but angry. The mother smiles, but weeps behind closed doors. The child, open, feels everything, but no one acknowledges it. The child begins to believe, this must be my fault. The child grows anxious, alert, ever attunet. In time, they become an adult who enters rooms and scans for tension. They call it anxiety, but it is not just anxiety, it is the trained antennae of a soul that learn to survive through energetic reading. This child, now adult, is not merely neurotic. They are an unacknowledged oracle, but without training, they suffer. So what would training look like? First, discernment, the ability to recognize what is yours and what is not. Second, ritual daily practices that ground you in your own energy before entering the collective field. This could be breathwork, imagery, journaling, silent meditation, anything that recenters your psyche around your own self. Third, symbolic expression using art, dreams, movement, poetry, or inner dialogue to give form to what you feel. Fourth, boundaries, energetic and relational. Learning to say no, not just to people, but to frequencies. Learning to exit conversations that drain you, or to name energies that feel invasive. And finally, shadow integration, the ongoing work of meeting your own darkness, so you are not unconsciously ruled by what others repress. This is the work of a soul warrior, not in the external world, but in the subtle dimensions of the psyche, because to live wide open is to be a portal, and every portal must be guarded not by walls, but by wisdom. And now I say to you, there is no going back to being normal. Your soul has seen too much, felt too much, known too much. You are not meant to close, you are meant to evolve, and evolution begins in consciousness. In the next movement of our gathering, we will explore the gift of this sensitivity, not just as burden or survival, but as service. We will speak of the archetype of the wounded healer, the sensate prophet, the one who feels for the many. But for now, I leave you with this: you are not broken. You are built for something ancient, but you must remember the codes. You must restore the temple within, and you must reclaim your right to feel without drowning. Now we come to the most difficult part of the journey, the part where you begin to see that what has wounded you may also be what awakens you. That the very energies that seem to crush your chest, steal your breath, and drown your voice are the same currents that seek to initiate you into deeper layers of reality. For the soul that is wide open is not simply a victim of this world. It is a bridge, a threshold being, one foot in the visible, the other in the unseen, and in that tension between two worlds, your deepest function is born. We must now speak of the wounded healer. This is not a romantic label. It is not a name for those who simply hurt. It is a sacred archetype rooted in the deepest layers of the collective unconscious, carried through myth, through medicine, through the mystery schools of old. The wounded healer is not healed, nor are they untouched. They are pierced, and in that piercing, the veil between worlds is torn. You have been pierced by life, by energy, by seeing too much, by feeling what others disown, and the wound you carry, if you do not close it prematurely, becomes a doorway, not to suffering alone, but to truth, because the wound feels, and what it feels is real. The wounded healer is not the one who transcends pain. They are the one who listens to pain, and through listening, learns the language of the soul. They become fluent in the emotional dialects others cannot name. They learn to hear silence, to smell betrayal, to feel the shifts in collective weather before a single word is spoken. You think you are sensitive. You are not merely sensitive. You are designed to detect subtle truths, truths that have no place in this modern mechanized world, and yet are the heartbeat of existence. But here is the paradox. If the wounded healer does not integrate their wound, if they continue to identify as the wound itself, then they become a channel for chaos rather than clarity. They become consumed by the very energies they were meant to read. This is why integration is the key. And what is integration? It is the process of giving your inner experiences structure. It is the act of naming, containing, expressing, and transforming what you carry. It is shadow work, yes, but it is more than that. It is the alchemy of becoming whole. Let us go into the fire of that alchemy. You see, your openness is not a neutral thing. It is magnetic. It pulls, it draws toward you all that is unspoken in others. If someone has repressed grief, it will find its way to you. If someone is pretending to be strong, their inner child will speak through your nervous system. You are a tuning fork for suppressed experience. And because of that, you must become fluent in energetic discernment. Ask yourself, is this emotion I'm feeling truly mine, or is it a visitation? Because every time you feel overwhelmed, drained, confused, or lost without clear cause, you are likely carrying someone else's content, not because you are weak, but because you are wide open and unclear. To be open and unclear is to be vulnerable to possession. To be open and clear is to be a mystic in service. You must learn to track these visitations When a wave of emotion rises, do not simply react, inquire, not from the intellect, but from the soul. Drop into the body, listen, ask what has entered me, who or what am I hosting? This is not superstition, this is psychic hygiene. Just as you wash your physical body daily, so too must you cleanse your energetic field. Not because it is wrong to feel, but because it is dangerous to feel unconsciously. Let me be precise. Energies are not metaphors. They are real. They move through time and space. They carry information. They influence thought. And if your psychic borders are permeable, as they are for many of you, then you must become a guardian of your own temple. Build daily rituals of clarity. This is not about control. It is about communion. Your soul is a sanctuary. Treat it like one. Now, let us enter the most sacred truth of this path, that your openness is not a burden, but a gift to the world, to the wounded, to the collective unconscious that cries out for witnesses. You are a witness to the unseen, and in a world addicted to surface, the witness is holy. You carry a mirror that reflects not faces, but frequencies. You walk through life tracking what others deny. This is not weakness. This is your vocation, but you must claim it consciously. To live unconsciously as an open soul is torment. To live consciously as an open soul is transcendence. Let us remember the archetype of the shaman, who in every ancient culture began their path with a wound, an illness, a rupture. The community did not exile them. It sent them into the wilderness to find vision. And when they returned, they came not only with healing for themselves, but with insight for the tribe. You are being sent into your own wilderness, but do not remain there. You must return with vision. And vision is not fantasy. It is the soul's memory of truth. You were born remembering something the world forgot. You were born wired to feel where others numb. You were born to carry the language of energy, symbol, archetype, and presence. And now, you must remember your role. You are not here to be overwhelmed forever. You are here to learn to channel what moves through you, to give it song, image, gesture, prayer, word, fire, because once you begin to express what lives inside you, it no longer owns you. Once you give voice to the energies, they become creative allies rather than psychic burdens. This is why the mystic becomes an artist. This is why the healer learns to speak, not to entertain, but to transmit. Transmission is the sacred purpose of the open soul. And to transmit cleanly, you must stay close to your center, not the ego. The self, the capital S self, is the unshakable core beneath all moods, all energies, all projections. It is the ground, the axis, the timeless place where the opposites meet. When you live from that self, you become a tuning fork for wholeness. People feel safe around you not because you are calm, but because you are true. And truth is magnetic. When you are wide open and centered in the self, even the most chaotic energies begin to settle in your presence. Not because you are controlling them, but because you are reflecting them back without distortion. That is what it means to transmute. Transmutation is not suppression. It is not fixing. It is alchemizing And you, dear one, are the alchemist, but only if you accept that the very thing you were told was your curse is, in truth, your call. And now we approach the edge of something sacred, the realization that your openness is not merely psychological, not merely emotional, not even spiritual in the sentimental sense. Your openness is cosmic. It is existential. You are porous, not by accident, but by design. You are built to feel what the world represses, to hear what the rational mind cannot comprehend, to hold the psychic residue of humanity's silence until it transforms into gold, gold, not the kind that glitters, but the kind that illuminates, the kind that is forged in the crucible of darkness, in the unbearable pressure of unspoken knowing. This gold is called individuation. It is the wholeness that emerges when you stop resisting what you are and begin to shape it, to speak it, to surf with it. You were not made to carry everything alone. You were made to transfigure what you carry. The energies you absorb, yes, they are heavy, but they are not yours to hoard. They are yours to redeem. You are not a sponge. You are a priest of the invisible. You are the one who stands at the border between what is seen and what is denied and says, I will feel what they cannot. I will name what they refuse. I will make visible what they buried. And in that vow, you become holy. But holiness, as I have said before, is not purity. It is wholeness. It is the embrace of the totality, shadow and light, sacred and profane, grief and ecstasy, silence and song. The open soul is the vessel for this totality. And so you must not only protect yourself, you must learn to create with it. This is the great transition from survival to service, from overwhelm to offering. The open soul that has integrated its own shadow, that has built symbolic structure, that has cultivated ritual and discernment, such a soul becomes a living transmission. Others heal simply by being in your presence, not because you fix them, but because you feel them without fear. You mirror their unconscious in such a way that it becomes conscious, and in that awareness, healing begins. But beware, to serve in this way is not to become a savior. It is to become a mirror that does not distort. That means staying rooted in your own self. That means knowing the difference between compassion and enmeshment. That means letting others walk their own journey, even when your body aches with the desire to carry them. Because in the end, your task is not to remove their suffering. It is to witness it without losing yourself. And that is the highest frequency of love. That is the alchemy of true presence. You will find in time that the more you center yourself in the self, the divine core, the archetypal center, the less drained you become. The more symbolic your language, the less confusion, the more you turn your experiences into images, the more clarity, the more you express, the less you absorb, the more you create, the less you collapse. Creation is the medicine for the open soul, not productivity, not perfection, but through creation, the spontaneous emergence of form from the unseen. When you write, paint, dance, dream aloud, pray with your body, Speak what has never been spoken. You are not escaping your sensitivity. You are releasing its pressure. You are turning current into current psi, sacred currency that moves not from exhaustion, but from inspiration. So I ask you now, what will you make with what moves through you? What will you sculpt from the chaos? What myth will you live? Because you are already a mythic figure, not in a storybook, but in the psychic architecture of the collective. You are the oracular soul. You are the unwilling prophet. You are the open one who has seen too much and can no longer pretend, but you are not doomed to drown. You are invited to rise, and rising does not mean closing. It means opening with consciousness. It means remembering the tools. It means gathering the fragments of your story and weaving them into a tapestry that sings, you are not broken. You are not too much. You are not unstable. You are wide open to energies. They cannot feel, and that is your genius. That is your vocation. That is your burden. Yes, but also your blessing. So go now. Return to the center. Reclaim your symbols. Rebuild your inner altar. Speak. The words you were told were nonsense. Feel what others cannot feel. But do not become what they project. Transmute the pain into presence. Transmute the shadow into art. Transmute the noise into stillness. And know that somewhere, far beneath the surface of all things, the world soul remembers your name. You are not alone. You never were. The field knows you. The archetypes see you. And the self, the eternal, radiant, unshakable self awaits your return. Go, and may what moves through you become light for all who cannot yet feel.